Welcome back to Tuesday Tips for Leaders of Volunteers. I am your host, Dana, and we're continuing part 2 of the 3-part series, Planning the Perfect Presentation. And part 2 is really about, well, what format are you presenting in? Are you online on a live broadcast platform? Are you pre-recorded and basically sending a video webinar already done and edited to an organization? Or are you able to safely speak somewhere in person, masked inside or outdoors? So knowing what kind of speaking event you want to do or that you've gotten the gig to do, and kind of understanding any of the tech aspects that may be your responsibility in a virtual performance is important. And the most important is, what kind of presentation are you doing? What's the format itself, not just the tech you need, but the design of the presentation. Now, most conference organizations, I'll have to say, especially in a nonprofit sector, are still for going with kind of a PowerPoint or Keynote slide deck type of format that they ask their presenters to use. Some are mixing it up. You may have other techniques that you prefer as a visual aid to back up what you're talking about, but most of the time you're going to be asked to do essentially a PowerPoint or turn in a slide deck as your content for this online speaking event or in person. And designing the deck itself can be tricky. I've seen some great examples. I've seen some really bad, hard to sit through examples. So what I think works in a slide deck type of format of presentation is you must have really a few clear learning objectives, and that kind of gives you a shape of show. That outlines what you're going to talk about in what order. And hopefully you are doing a kind of webinar where when you turned in your submission, they asked for 1 to 5 learning objectives, or what are the outcomes that attendees can take away after your session. So hopefully you've already got that figured out. But if not, really hone it for the presentation itself so you've got a good shape of show. Keep the pace moving, and visually, absolutely, positively have licensed, real, high quality, high resolution photos or graphic images or illustrations that you're using. And that means either you have permission, working for an agency, to have pictures of your own team in action. If you're using examples, that's really the best. Or go and just invest a little bit of time and a little bit of money in getting proper high quality stock photos from iStock, Shutterstock, Deposit Photos, or any number of other pretty easy, low cost paid subscriptions. You really can't get away with just grabbing an image off of an image search on the internet and slapping that into your presentation. One, the copyright probably belongs to someone else, so that could get you or the organization you're presenting for potentially in legal trouble. And mainly, they're usually not very high quality. It's really low res, and by the time it blows up into a webinar or a big room full of people or a big outdoor projection watching your images, they're really grainy and just the quality doesn't look good. Another tip for putting imagery or visuals into your deck is to have a simple, clear visual, not a ton of different collage pictures. We're not doing collages, and we're not doing just paragraphs of walls of text that you're reading out loud to your audience. It's really difficult for people to learn effectively if they have to listen and read at the same time. So I really love a deck that flows, where the images are flowing pretty quickly to support what you're saying or showing examples, or absolutely when you need to, showing a really clear graph of how this works, or workflow, or a model, something like that. Now, knowing the tech that you're going to be using, not just for yourself in person, like do you have to bring a flash drive, your laptop, which we talked about in part 1 a little bit, but it's also important more and more as these are hybrid conferences, you're doing something online, that you understand the platform and what's being asked of you and how interactive that can be with your audience. So if you're doing a live stream on StreamYard or Facebook Live or YouTube, you might have a little bit of a 30 to 60 second delay. So it's going to be harder to do a live chat with your audience, a live online 2-camera chat, but you may have a poll question or some other kind of fun breakout discussion group, or some way to have people answer a question over the course of the presentation within the chat function if you can see it, and you can answer and have some interaction that way. The hardest thing to do as a presenter is not have a live audience to interact with and kind of feed off of that wonderful energy. So if you do have to pre-record something and turn it in, or if you're not going to have a chance, it's really just a one-way broadcast and you can't get any questions or interaction with your audience, do your best to, again, keep your own energy. Interested is interesting, moving along, little tiny slices of humor such as is appropriate, and really keep those visuals moving along to make your point. So if you're in person, scout the space, scout the room ahead of time as much as you possibly get a chance to. And again, a host organization that is doing a virtual or hybrid conference will usually have a tech check official session that you as a speaker can sign up for if you're unfamiliar with the platform, or you want to just, have a chance to ask their behind the scenes tech experts the best ways to get your point across in this format, in this medium. So I hope you're enjoying this series. Stay tuned next time for part 3, where we dig a little bit more into your own public speaking skills and how to practice if you're newer to speaking or you're just particularly nervous about something. And we'll see you next time.